life is a heck of a thing to balance, you know? Well, I'm sure you know. If you clicked on this video, you have some idea. But what I mean by that, I suppose, is that it's a difficult thing to do everything you want to do at once. And take it from a guy who was always told as a kid that in order to be the man, you've got to do everything all at once. And that was not necessarily said with the intention of being strict or um, overbearing or overly demanding or having unrealistic expectations. It was more so said with the notion that in order to be the protector and provider and the person I wanted to be for my future family, I had to act like it. In the sense that, of course, I have to figure out a way around this ravine so that I can get to that coal, so which means I'm going to have to take the long way around. Safe way around. It's not meant to be something overbearing, to try to do everything at once. It's just difficult when there's not enough time to do it, right? But I think that there's plenty of simple methods to do it, and I kind of wanted to discuss that here. Because it turns out that us human beings put a lot of roadblocks in front of ourselves, and, my biggest roadblocks throughout the day are basically stuff like trying to get off social media. And I know it's a very common problem, and I definitely have it. Because what winds up happening is that I sleep with my phone next to me so that I can text my girlfriend as soon as we both wake up. But I wake up so late in the morning, late compared to her, and then I wind up scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And before I know it, it's like 9:30. I haven't eaten breakfast. I haven't gotten out of bed. I'm a lazy butt, and I hate myself for it. Right? So, for those of you who have clicked on this very old school video of unedited commentary on how to get better, though I am hardly an authority figure on the matter, I do wish to discuss it so that maybe my experience, my words, may be of some help to you all. So the first thing that I would do to basically create more time for yourself would be something along the lines of, how would I put it? Not necessarily remove all social media from your life, because I see a lot of people kind of scorched earth the thing, and I'm not completely certain that it needs to work like that. I have no doubt that it's effective for the right people, but for me it's not, because I am the type of person that desperately always wants to be in the know about things, right? I'm always wondering what's going on in the world. I'm always wondering if there's something, I need to be aware of. If there's something I can do. Is there something coming towards me? Do I need to be alert? Do I have to protect somebody? That's just my thing. And for the most part, that winds up devolving into absolutely nothing productive at all, because what winds up happening is I'm just doom scrolling on X or Twitter, however you call it, or I'm simply just wasting time absorbing needless information off of Instagram or YouTube Shorts, watching memes that I already know about, and I would limit your online activity. If you're going to limit your online activity, I would recommend limiting it to about maybe, I say online activity specifically in the areas of social media, because I know that gaming with friends is a thing that people want to do, and I certainly do it myself, and that doesn't count as online activity. But social media activity specifically should be limited maybe to about like an hour a day, maybe at most, right? Because that would be the most optimal strategy, but even then, like, an hour is a long time. Like, you know how long an hour is? An hour is the length of, gosh, which movie is it? There's plenty of movies that are an hour long, but for some reason the only movies entering my head are Pixar movies, and Pixar movies are typically longer than a whole hour. Cars is about 2 hours long, so it's about half the length of Cars, and that's a fairly long amount of time. And you realize that, like, you only are awake for so many hours before you have to get up and, you know, do something productive. So with that being said, let's move on to what productive things you should do and what you actually need to do. Okay? So it turns out that for most people, I've come to find through asking people questions and stuff that people are only really capable of maybe doing 2 or 3 things at once during the day. And by 2 or 3 things, I mean like 2 or 3 productive things that bring them enjoyment, like creative endeavors. Okay, I game, I write music, and at the moment I don't have anything else at the moment, which I'm trying to fill, but that's mostly because I'm also trying to fill my life more with family. And that is something that's desperately important, especially in our lives as younger people. We desperately require, whether you realize it or not, that connection with our families. And, I mean, I desire it. Heck, I need it more maybe than most. I don't know how selfish or arrogant that is to come across like that, but listen, I'm the oldest of 13 children, and I'm not going to be able to be the same older brother for every single one of them, because I'm the oldest. I'm 19. The youngest one is turning 2 in a couple months, and actually a month now that I think about it. And I want to be the best older brother that I can be for every single one of them, as well as being the best oldest son I can possibly be for my parents. And it's not something that necessarily requires me to stress out so much. I believe that the thing really is that people worry constantly about whether or not they meet these certain expectations, or if they really need to do all of these things. And by nature of a thing existing, people view it as an add-on to an already great workload. And I think one of the biggest mental roadblocks that people have, whether it's constructed by themselves or not, is the idea that, first of all, that you're alone in such endeavors, and secondly, that it's as much of a burden or a difficulty as you make it out to be. If you look at it from a standpoint of, like, humor yourself for a second and don't consider it as a weighing down of your day, or, oh, just another thing to do. Like, consider the possibility that maybe it's just another thing, but you think to yourself, oh, but it's another thing. And I'm like, but what if it's just another thing? And I would guard you against thinking about it as, oh, it's just another thing, it doesn't mean that much, because that's definitely not what it is. It's definitely much more than that. But what it is a how do I put this? It's another thing to ritualize. And this is something that my dad has talked about at great length. There should be rituals in place for everything. And I'm not talking about, like, mystical kinds of rituals. I'm talking about, like, the daily habits and practices of human beings are, in essence, a type of ritual. And the way that I mean this is, When I used to attend scout meetings, when I was in a scouting program, my dad would take me, back when I was the only one in the scouting program. Now it's my brothers, and I've kind of aged out of it, / moved on from it. Oh, my pickaxe broke. Time to go back, if I can make my way out. Back when I was in it, every single Tuesday after meetings, my dad would take me to get Del Taco, right? He would get me Del Taco after each and every single meeting that we had. And my grandfather, my mom's dad, was also a leader in that program at the time. Dad wasn't yet, so sometimes Papa would take me, or he would come with us, and it was a really, really wonderful, tremendous experience to be with Papa and Dad eating Del Taco after each and every meeting. And eventually, at the time, you take it for granted, but eventually it comes to the point where you realize how much you actually miss about that ritual. And I miss it a lot. I wish I could have that again for a long time. Heck, I wish I could have it forever. But part of the point of said rituals too is that there's also a that mental understanding that you're not going to have it forever, and that's okay. Why are the dimensions so vastly different here? I don't understand. Is there a paradox happening? 1 2 3 3 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2. What the? Oh, okay. Okay, I know what I did wrong. Okay, sorry. I got worried there for a sec. I forgot to add my filling. And my top part of the area, now that I think about it. So, what comes to be with those rituals is that naturally you're going to want to give those rituals back to your children, your own children in some way. And that, aside from the basic necessity of perpetuating the human race, is a pretty gosh darn good reason as to... Yeah, I messed up the glass. Gosh darn it. That's okay. I can always get more sand, and I just realized that I didn't need to break every single one of those. There we go. Alright, that's the stuff. Now, should I fill it in with wood on these ends, or put it in the middle, or should I just have a long glass strip? You tell me in the comments, okay? Also, let me know in the comments what kind of rituals your parents had for you. And how those helped you out as a person. I think one of the biggest things about life that our generation really forgets, though, to get back on topic, is to keep those rituals. Because we're always told to just grow up, We've had our fun. We don't need, certain experiences anymore because we just gotta work. And I don't know about you, but I don't want that. And the world will say, but it doesn't matter what you want. And we are supposed to say back to the world, well, I didn't ask for your opinion. Because the truth of the matter is, I didn't ask for its opinion, first of all. And second of all, what is the world to tell us that we can't have nice things? Right? Because let's be honest with ourselves for a second. If, indeed, the world was so miserable to the point of us basically logically coming to the conclusion that we should, end it all, why hasn't the human race done that 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 years ago. And I believe that it is because humans figured out at some point down the road that we are here for a much higher purpose. We are not simply here to figure out whether or not we can do everything, and if we can't, just end it all because it's not worth the effort. No, we are here, and the only reason we are here physically is because the humans before us decided at some point that something in life was worth sticking around for, and either it came to them or they made it happen. And I think that's the greatest beauty about life, is that, in a sense, all the cheesy movies get it right. We can choose our own destiny. We are not manufactured and built for somebody else's whims. We're not meant to be wagees for the rest of our lives. We're not meant to wind up as wagees. Life is more than ringing up customers at a grocery store, you know, or flipping burgers. Although that is a job that somebody really, really likes. And if they want to have that job, good for them. There will always be people who always actually find enjoyment in flipping burgers. And God bless those people, because goodness knows we all like a good burger, huh? But a main motivation to keep in mind is that you can do it. It just has to be figured out how to do. Now, of course, there are things and there are people, of course, who want to do as much as they possibly can to the point of depriving themselves of basic needs. And to those people, I say, good luck, because you will be the first human being in history to successfully get everything you want and actually be happy without fulfilling basic needs. And what are those basic needs? Basic needs are food, sleep, and a higher calling, a higher purpose. Because I'm one of those guys who believes in something higher than myself. I am one of those guys who firmly believes with all my heart that there is a God out there. I believe that somebody's looking out for us, because I've had way too many experiences in my life to tell me otherwise. I've crashed my car in a ditch when the back tires flew up into the air. And whether it have been a guardian angel that kept those wheels down or not, something happened to keep those wheels firmly planted on the ground when I actually did hit the ground. My car, though damaged, was not beyond all recovery, and I managed to recover it for a very good price, too. I should be dead. The way I crashed my car, I should absolutely be dead, or at least still injured. And I'm not. And I consider myself blessed every single day to consider the fact that I'm not dead, you know? So I believe that what human needs is those three things. Something higher than yourself. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a god. You know, it doesn't necessarily need to be God, at least not at this exact moment, because many people have ambitions and drives and goals that are so immediate that God really can just help you out. He can do his part to help, and then you can say, thanks, I'll take it from here, right? And that's something I believe as a Catholic. A lot of people are surprised when I talk about that, because they're like, oh, you assume that God will do his part? And I'm like, yeah, that's literally what he said he'd do. We can't expect God to do everything for us, but we can certainly meet him in the middle, because we can't do it all ourselves. And that's part of a lot of people's major motivations. Some people want a man or a woman to stick by them in their time of need, to help them through the journey of life. In fact, I believe every single person wants that. to some degree or another. And for some people, that's their higher calling, that vocation, as it were, to have someone help, you know? Certainly what I'm gunning for. God willing, I'd like to get married soon. And, you know, have some kids. Be happy. You know, and not to say that I'm not happy, but to have the experience of, you know, giving my children what I had as a kid. Sorry. To be able to create new rituals with them, for them. To be there, watch them grow up, and send them off on their way into the next generation. It's a pretty beautiful thing. And I know that this conversation was about how to not be distracted. But I think the main moral of all of this is that, well, I think the best way not to be distracted is to keep all these things in mind. And I think that if you do that, things will start to make a little more sense, and you will be willing to do a lot more things. And I caution you, all of you, against the temptations of it's too hard. It is only as hard as you make it, and it is only as hard as you admit it to be. But I guarantee you, while it may not get any easier, it only gets better from here. And that is a lesson that one of the wisest men I ever met taught me. It doesn't get easier, but it does get better. And that, I can promise you, is the God-honest truth. It may not go down exactly the way you want it to, but well, may not go down exactly the way you want to. Stuff may come up, plans may change, people might affect your ability to reach your goal, but I have a feeling if you persevere, it'll all be figured out. So, with all that being said, I will sign off. Have a very good night, you all, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care.